Hey everybody, we are here today with another episode. What do you have to do? You got to like and subscribe. We are here with the amazing Laura House. Give her some snaps and waves. Hi, Laura House.
Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Here is Laura House's wonderful intro, and it's so perfect. I have to read it, otherwise I will be remiss. Laura House is a comedian, writer, and meditation teacher. Her and I actually got to know each other on the same meditation teacher training. Just so you know, she's legit. And she's performed on Comedy Central and HBO. That's not meditation. That's the other stuff she does. And she's written on Emmy award-winning shows such as Mom and Samantha Who. She was the showrunner and executive producer on BBC's BAFTA-winning series, A Secret Life of Boys. Check that out. And now she co-hosts a podcast, TINY Victories, with the New York Times bestselling author Annabelle Gurwitch. It's a 15-minute feel-good show where they celebrate minor accomplishments and fleeting joys. And I think everybody here will love that, who loves this. So check that out. So hello, Laura House.
Hello.
Would you like to ask people to like and subscribe?
Like and subscribe.
There you go. All right. First question is, how would you describe the taste of a banana to someone who's never had one?
Well, this question makes me sad and mad, and I'm not sure why. I guess it makes me wonder who is this person? Do they not, is it like an alien who's just never encountered, like, what is banana? And if so, we wouldn't have the same taste mechanism. Can someone not afford a banana because they are like 3 cents or often free? Like was someone kept in some kind of confinement and kept away from, but so that's I get genuinely hung up on, like, who hasn't had a banana? And if they can't, and like, if they haven't tasted one because they can't taste some, like, how would you describe a sunset to a blind person? Then, like, I wouldn't even want to describe a banana taste to them because they can't taste. So I have to forfeit this it's too sad. It's too sad.
The backstory is where you're stuck on, like a writer. What's the backstory?
Very upsetting. I'm like, who's not, I would just give them a banana. Like, I just fit, like, what am I torturing this banana free person with? Or is it just an incredibly overly cautious person that's like, I need this described to me before I dive in with the taste? Like, and then I don't even want to know that person. So I just find it how did I get myself in that situation where I would have to do that? So I can't.
All right. Well, if you agree with Laura, just pop it in the comments because she's going to need some support and love, I can tell.
Can someone be on my side with the banana scenario?
Please pop it down there. Say you are with Laura with the banana trauma and the backstory. Banana trauma.
Something weird's going on if someone's like, just never tasted a banana. Come on. Who raised that person? I'm so sad.
Well, let's move it off of the banana person onto you. And when did you have your first existential life crisis as a child?
This question oddly makes me happy, even though it seems very intense, like, because I love that it assumes, well, obviously you've had existential crises, more than one. When was your first and as a child? And I instantly knew the answer because I have thought about it a lot in my life. I was 8 years old and we went to, my mom and I went to an Episcopalian church, and Church of England, as you may know it. There's a picture of the Queen in the the priest office, I noticed. And anyway, exactly. It would be great if it had been an animated, like an animatronic, but anyway, it's just a picture sitting there. But maybe it had like spooky eyes that you could look. Anyway, I don't know. Episcopalian. I genuinely liked it. Like, my dad wouldn't go to church. And then when my brother realized, because dad didn't go, he had precedent, so he didn't have to go. But I really loved it. So I went to Sunday school I mean, I was just into it. I was like, okay, yeah, Jesus and love, and this is great. And then one day my mom said, we're not going to that church anymore. There was and there had been a split in that church. And so they had, factions one had peeled away, and one group was staying in the church, in that building and in the thing. And this other group that my mom was in, and my mom was not a controversial figure, very low key junior high teacher. Like we were told as children, like never sign things, never stand up for it. We were told like, don't ever stand up for anything. You'll just get in trouble. So she was not a troublemaker at all, but something came up and she left the church. And then our church, we were buildingless, and we like had church in like a YMCA at one point, and then at one point in a different church before they had church. So the crisis was, I was genuinely baffled, because I was like, I'm in little church down the hallway learning that God is love and Jesus, and they're like essentially the core spiritual truth. Like there's only one thing, and love, and that's the point. And I was like, and you guys can't get it together? Like you're the adults. And I just remember being like, I don't even like, why can't you understand what I understand? Basically was it. Then it was only later that I realized she was on the wrong side of the argument. The argument had been about, should women be able to be priests? And my mom was team no.
So you would have kicked her out as well.
Can you imagine? I was just like, yeah, exactly. But I mean, somebody came to the house and said, you could be, I don't know if the word was ostracized, but it was a word that meant in the religion, not just ostracized, but like will actually like not go to heaven. Like it was like a serious
damned. She'd be
damned.
but
it was a word like ostracized. I just can't think of what. Oh, excommunicated. It was the idea of like, it wasn't just like, hey, we're mad at you. It was like, hey, you might not go to heaven if you do this. That's how much she didn't want women in the anyway. I believe that's maybe it was more complicated, but I believe that's what the fight was over, which is so crazy. Anyway, she ended up back in that church eventually, but that was it. That was the moment.
Or choose to keep her? Did she agree or choose to keep her mouth quiet?
No, and you know what? I think they got a different priest that was less controversial. Like I think it kind of had to do with issues with whoever was in charge at that time, and then somebody else came that was more of a peacemaker or something. I don't know, but I know she got back in there. But we eventually, just went to this other church that was called Anglican Catholic, which I only learned in college. Like you can't have, that's what it was called. Instead of like, I mean, you're really, how nuanced and nitpicky when you're like, we're not Episcopal, we're Anglican and Catholic, like pick a lane, but whatever. That's what that was my child. And then I, on my own, became Southern Baptist, which is a whole different thing. But anyway, that was the first existential crisis.
And what did you do or change with your point of view as a result of that crisis?
You know what? I got real nosy about, like, I was a child. And so I think that's a good, so he's very like open and like, I really believed what they were telling me. And I think sometimes adults will forget that they're really impacting people in this way of real truth. Like adults can kind of be dismissive in what they're saying. But as a child, I was like, wait, okay, God is love. Like, okay, got it. But adults will keep fighting. So for me, I got real curious. I remember, so in the new church, in the Anglican Catholic, I asked that as around 10, I started getting like I wanted to make sure I would get into heaven. And then I was doing, like, I wanted to make all the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. And I remember asking, I said, I had heard about confession or maybe, watched it on TV or something, and said, can I do a confession? I remember at 10. I asked the priest, and that's not something the Episcopalian Church does. And he explained to me, he said that, he said, well, we don't do that, which I thought was super weird, because we were called Anglican Catholic. And from television, Catholic confession is a thing. And so
only from television, not in real life.
No, but I'm a child. So like, you do know, like Catholic, there's like it's on TV shows. You see, it's a very common thing. So I was like, I need to confess, I'm 10. And he's like, we don't do this. But he said this, he said, you can pray to Mary to intercede to Jesus to give your, like, basically pass it along. And as a child, the game telephone or grapevine or something. And I was just like, that's insane. Like, as a 10-year-old, I was like, I'm supposed to ask this lady to tell this guy to tell, like, but God is love, but I can't just go directly. So I ended up visiting a Baptist church with a friend of mine not long afterwards. And they're like, Jesus is your best friend and God is everywhere and you can talk to God all day. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. And I became Baptist. That is what I did. So that's a lot with looking back for a child. But I was really like, that connection meant a lot to me, I guess. So did candy. That connection and candy were all I really cared about.
So candy was another existential life crisis, or you had found
not a crisis. I'm just saying I was a child, so I liked candy. And I liked boys. I liked boys, candy, and Jesus, I guess.
Sounds like a combo. I also had a similar issue with the Church of England. My mother was asked to leave a certain group because we were divorced. And I was very confused because, hang on, Henry VIII created the church so he could get divorced.
Yeah.
Why is she getting kicked out? What?
Why was she getting kicked out? That's super weird.
Apparently the only group there was called the Young Wives Club. And she wasn't a wife anymore.
Oh. So there wasn't a group for her within the church.
Right. And so
wow. She
did not have the tools or gumption to say, fine, I'm going to create the Hot Divorcees Club, which everyone would want to be part of, right? And make the club better than the Young Wives Club, right? But she didn't have that capacity within her. It was just another reason to get resentful at a church. But I remember thinking,
yeah, that is weird. It's the premise of the religion is divorce. The origin story is, hey, it's super annoying to kill my wives and I'd really just rather get a divorce. So yeah, it's very weird. It's like, it's almost like it should be required in the Anglican, should be like only divorce people, really. If you follow like the spirit of the origin. Right.
Yes. If you were Catholic and you get divorced, it's okay. We'll take you on the Church of England.
Yeah. Like that's your way, like that's the way everybody get it. You're married 6 times, couple of murders. Maybe you rule a country, and then that's the church you go to.
Yes, questionable elite children from various partners.
Right.
And I too also got very much immersed into more of a born again Baptist environment on my own, which my mother was very excited about because she knew there would be no unwanted pregnancies. That's all she cared about.
It is a funny way to rebel when you're like a weird, like it's normal for a kid to get into drinking or whatever. And when you're like a weirdo that's like, well, I'll get super religious. I'm sure, because my parents were torn, because I'm sure they were like, oh, well, that's a safe enough place. But they were also very annoyed because it's a non-drinking thing. And suddenly alcohol was devil juice. And they were not happy with I was very annoying. You suddenly have a child that's like knocking drinks out of your hand and saying it's devil juice. Like that's probably not awesome.
I do remember telling my sibling that he will go down under to the bad place if he doesn't believe at one point.
Oh yeah. No, that's that's the rule. That was the rule.
Fabulous. So did you have any experiences with authority figures apart from the church where you saw them like a teacher you saw them outside of school and they behaved completely differently, and it jar you like, woo?
No, never. My mom's a teacher. So teachers were never mysterious to me. All my mom's friends were my teachers. My mom was a teacher at the junior high that I went to. I saw someone have that experience when they saw me and my mom at Target, and she couldn't, like, she talked about it for years. I'll bet if I saw her this weekend, she would bring it up. Like, she was just, I couldn't believe I saw Miss House, that she was in shorts. And I was just like, what, why do you think? Anyway, so I know that was very far from my experience.
And you never had it with any other kind of authority figure, that you saw them in one place acting a certain way and then they whoop?
No, the principal of my elementary school lived down the street from me. Like, I don't know, like and those were really the only, I mean, I can't think of, so no, I don't have any impact, it may have happened, but I don't have any lingering impact of any of that.
Yeah. What would Laura House like to do to leave for this planet, allowing it to be a better place than before you got here?
Surely it's already a better place because I have been here.
Well, that goes without saying.
Right. I mean, I leave my little trail like a snail. I leave my little, I don't know. That's such a wild question, because I feel it also, I don't think there's anything I can do to impact the world. I think I am a very small cog in the multitude of wheels. So I really think, the best I can do, I'll share specifically. So both of my parents have passed away, and my mom like 16 years ago, but my dad just a couple months before the pandemic. And I'm not the first person to experience this. It changed me. Like he died, I helped him pass, like hospice, and I was there with him, and very beautiful in a way, very horrible in a way, very, I don't know, I'll just say beautiful again. It was an amazing shift. And to see him go from, and I had never experienced, we don't experience this, but I had certainly I had not, and I'm very sober, and I had just not experienced this. And he's my dad. He's a person in a body, and he's my dad, and then he's not in a moment. And you can't, and suddenly in that moment, because he was my second parent, everything shifted in my consciousness in a way of like, suddenly the house was just somehow, it was my dad's house, and now it's just house, and the stuff was my dad's stuff and my parents' stuff, and now it's no, I can take some if I want, and then it's my stuff, but essentially, so, and it really hit, and again, I feel weird as if I discovered death, recently, but in a way I did, in a visceral way. I was just like, what is it all about? Like, what is it all about? And in my 20s, I pursued stand-up and honestly fame. That's all. I want the big house on the hill, and I want people to, because that's what I conflated with love, like if I have this, I have power, I have something. So to me, that's what it was all about. And then I see this, and I was like, oh. So I'm at his, and my dad also outlived a lot of his friends. So I'm at his viewing, and, we're meeting people and doing the stuff that you do. And a woman ran up to me, you don't run. A woman, she is, oh, are you Stanley's daughter? Your dad changed my life. And I turned to her, and she said, when I was first starting out, I applied for a job with the city. My dad worked at City Hall. And she said, and your dad hired me. And I don't think I was really quite even exactly qualified. It was like her first job. It was a big deal. And he helped me. And he, like, for her, my dad's acceptance and kindness to her changed her life trajectory, where she went on to, you know, marry and have a child and ended up living down the street, not because of him, that's weird, but they just kind of ended. It's my dad impacted her. And so I guess I decided, oh, that's how you make the world better. Like, I can't impact the world, and I feel like I would be miserable trying, but maybe I can show kindness or acceptance or compassion to someone like that, that someone one day can say, oh, that person changed my life. Maybe they don't even know my name, you know, maybe it's so I don't know. I think and then also I do this podcast, Tiny Victories, and we talk about, like, it's overwhelming to go big, go tiny. So I guess I would feel like maybe just tiny kindnesses. Maybe that's what I can do to make the world better.
I agree. It's one heart to one heart, which can impact on a deeper level. And that can be a desire to go to a grocery store we never expected, and we smile at someone and they just look at us like, and we think, well, why am I here? And we don't know how that could have changed them, right? The ripple effect of who we are. And I am deepest condolences.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And those are events that do change perception. So now, have you found your behavior has changed, or you're actually more in tune with, yes, I'm going to continue being who I am anyway, with kindness, one person at a time?
A lot has changed. So I mean, to say there was a lot of death last year is laughable because it's obviously, but I went to a funeral of a friend. So a few months before the pandemic, I went to a funeral for a friend. On the way home, I got a call saying one of my students, I taught screenwriting at the New York Film Academy. One of my students passed away. About a week later, I get a call from my brother. Hey, Dad's having a hard time. I flew home. By the end of the week, my dad couldn't walk. It was the beginning of that process. And so I really was sitting with death. And I don't want to even say this in a sad way, that death is just sad, because it isn't. Because, like, for example, of changing the world, my friend Scott, I don't know if there were 500 people at his memorial, and everybody in there was like, Scott made me feel so special. Like, everyone was like, the joy he had, it was unending, completely present, just a great with the grandchildren, great with his clients, great with so you go like, oh, like, because death is going to happen. So there's no reason to me to just go, well, it's inherently sad. It's going to happen. So I think you can get really inspired by, well, I'm sitting here, I'm at the memorial. How do I use this time? I have this thing. When my dad was going, I had a new appreciation for my body. So a couple of months before, and the 50 years before that, I would have told you I had a bad body. It's too fat, it's too slow, it's not right, it's not this. But as my dad literally could not use his body, I was like, my legs are amazing. And I just wanted to like kick a ball. Like, we went and bought a ball at Walmart and just kicked because we could. And like, I went swimming and I just started running around. And because I was just like, we even talked kind of in, meditation terms. It was a new level of appreciation of existence. That's what death can give you, because we witness it and we go, oh, wait, but almost like we just got beamed down from another planet. Oh, look, I have hands. And it can be this awakening of appreciation. So no, I haven't changed, because I haven't changed back. I don't want to lose that. And this year with pandemic and seeing so many people go, I was just like, I moved. I had not been happy where I was. but I just been putting up with it because that's what you do, because it's life. And I was able to move, and I just moved to the country. I live in the country now, and I just feel happy here, and I'm doing my thing here. And I'm just like, man, I don't have any answers other than, you know, be kind, be happy, because I don't know. I feel like I got a PhD, like I got a master's in death in the past year, in a way we all did, you know, and I think there's a lot of great lessons about life, I guess, you know, to take from that, like in genuinely in a really, really positive way, like pet a dog. It's really profound when you're just like, I'm here, this dog is here. It's not always going to be the case, but in this moment, here we are and enjoying each other. And a dog, you know, or you'll get bit maybe, but
oh, maybe not. But
not
sounds
just
like
a random violent dog, but you know. But it is, I mean, so to me, that's what, and I never had that before. I was always just like, I just need more money. That was my only problem for 30 years, was like, I just need more money. I just need more money and I just need a better everything. And then I was like, oh man.
And then when you got more money, what happened?
You just want more money. There's not a level of money where you don't want more money. Thing about money, yeah, the thing about numbers is there's always a higher number to get. So yeah, like, because something a lot of people might have had, also, you know, so about a year ago, it's, you know, March 2020, I guess. I don't even know what years things happen, but in January, I have all these problems, right? January, February, I have problems. I have this job and this is tough and this thing, and I don't have enough time and I'm money, and I'm not successful for where I am and where I should be. There's a huge gap and I feel bad about it, and I'm not quite right, and I blah, blah, blah. And then COVID, and a really good friend of mine got it, like before we even really knew what it was. And he was in intensive care, 6 weeks in and out of, a really serious, new dad, just adopted 2 foster kids, beautiful guy, he's fine now. But we were like, oh, and so and coming off all that other death stuff, it's like, I just had this like, oh, I don't have any problem. Like, if I don't have this thing, I have everything. And that's such a gift. And it's not like you don't, you know, you still want stuff or feel bad sometimes, but I at least have that experience of that different feeling, that it's a good feeling, because it's when you're just that it's gratitude. It's a deep and it's a vat of gratitude. It's vatitude. It's a vat of gratitude.
Yes, I mean, that's what I was going to say. You had an awakening of gratitude, bringing you bliss for being in the moment.
Yeah, it really was, because I mean, really, when you're just like, and I feel like that's kind of what we were talking about. I know maybe it's not fair, it was a little bit before we started officially, but as we're feeling people getting back to normal, part of what I'm not interested in losing is that perspective. You know, I don't want to go back to how I was February 2020. Because I was just like, no, I know, but well, I still need more. And it's like, well, for what?
For what? Right.
For what?
Now for what? Oh, one of my favorite songs. Yeah, for what? Right.
All the money in the world. I've had really happy moments in, you know, the past 10 years. And I say 10 because it's like after meditation, learning to meditate, in sobriety. So in this kind of recent-ish time, really happy moments where I thought, oh, I don't need more money. If I had more money, I would just want to buy stuff to feel like this. And I do feel like this. And that's like one of the great things too about meditation, the kind we teach, and all of them are, oh, you can cut out the middle part. You can just feel a blissful feel, like you can go straight to the feeling instead of like triangulating out into like getting the thing that gives you the feeling. You just go to the feeling. And get the stuff.
It sounds like we're getting ready to do an update of Vedic Meditation Stories, the ebook, which Laura contributed a story to. And though that was put together for people to read firsthand gratitude of actually getting a meditation practice that helped their nervous system come online and change their lives. And this is a wonderful way to, because every teacher is going to talk about their practice is the best, but to get an outside resource, and it's the only publication out there with our practice, with real stories, and many of them are people who were thought hopeless, would never meditate, right? And so if you want to know more a bit about how Laura even learned to meditate, her story.
For sure, I was a never meditator. I was like, this is so dumb. But I felt bad. So it's like, you know, it's real dumb, just feeling bad all the time.
Feeling bad all the time. And the science is in that after a certain threshold with money, happiness does not go up with the more that you get. And individuals who win the lottery, they actually spend the money with the same consciousness as they get it. And they end up with the money gone and not that shift of awakening they thought they would get from financial reprieve, the story we are told from early on. And there are a lot of more cogs in the wheel to create that, but he was sharing that truth with us. So if you want to hear more from Laura, don't forget to check out her podcast, Tiny Victories. Yes, a little victory.
Yeah, it's on Maximum Fun, and it's on all the platforms, and 15-minute feel good. We celebrate minor accomplishments and fleeting joys, and we love to hear from listeners also and play their tiny victories.
Yes, Tiny Victories. And if you want to know more about the practice of meditation we do, in the description is especially the ebook right now. It's free if you have unlimited Kindle. So, you know, you can get a free copy. And if you have friends who don't have that, but do, they can share it within the first week. So that is not even a barrier to investigate that for you. If you want to check out the fun questions with Laura part 2, come and watch that video. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel, share your love for Laura so we can have her back again, maybe with a dog this time, maybe with a dog. And with that, we're going to say, oh my God.
She's down there snoring.
Oh, sweetie. Oh,
that's Minnie, my bulldog.
Oh, we're going to say goodbye to everyone, and we will see you soon. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Hey, welcome to part 2 with the amazing Laura House. She has blown us away with her experience of meditation and her awakenings and living in gratitude now in the country. Now we're going to give her some fast fire questions. If you didn't think she was hilarious before, you're going to die now, I am sure. All right, first question. Do you ever see repeating numbers?
Nope.
Never in your life?
It's not a thing I notice.
I thought that you might for some reason.
I do a lot of hippie stuff, but the numbers thing isn't one of my deals. I have a friend who always points out 11s and 1111, and I just like...
Cool. All right. Is there a food that you really wished that you liked, but you just no?
I'm going to be very disappointing in this. There is not a food. I wish there was like 10,000 foods I wish I didn't like.
Okay.
I eat everything. So I would be the opposite of, I wish I could not like tortilla chips and candy.
What's your favorite candy?
I can't even eat candy, but M&Ms. And also just can't, if it's something you'd give to a child, I want it. That's basically.
Well, that keeps it young. Where have you not visited in the world that you'd really like to go and explore?
Ooh, Paris and Greece. I've traveled quite a bit, but never Paris, which is like a big number one. And I feel like, and also my fiance is a world-class musician. He's traveled all over. He also never Paris. And we're just like, we've got a Paris, and then Greece, just everything about it sounds amazing.
Well, that's obviously in the cards for the two of you, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's exciting. The romantic city of the world. And the two of
Right?
you haven't gone. Oh, wow. What is your favorite phrase? It doesn't have to be in English.
Oh, right. I the phrase that comes to mind is Yakohamcha, which I believe, I could be saying wrong. I believe it's I love you in Polish. But I lived in Norway for a year, and they had so many. I was a foreign exchange student, and their whole language is great. I can't cuss, or I would say that favorite phrase in Norway. They just their swear words. Swear words in other languages are so funny because it makes people mad. It means nothing to you. It's just you're just like blah blah, and people are like, oh, how dare you? But one of the things that made it across the pond from there is Higley, the concept of very cozy that is attributed to they're like the Danish word Higley, but it's all of Scandinavia. And that's a really nice word.
I've never heard of either of them. See, learn something new every day. Now, what about nicknames? What was the craziest nickname you were called, or a nickname you were called?
I don't have crazy, but so long before Shaquille O'Neal, my nickname in like junior high school was Shaq because I'm too little to be a house. My last name is House. So I was Shaq. I was little house. I'm from Grand Prairie, and I don't know if you know of the show Little House on the Prairie, but so I was Little House in Grand Prairie, and it just turned into Shaq. And so Shaq, a long time Shaq, not really crazy, just a small house.
But very unique.
I suppose it's not that common, but it's then Shaquille O'Neal, totally different. It's totally different reasons.
Okay, totally let's go with that one.
Huh?
Why Shaquille O'Neal?
What do you
Shaq.
mean?
Oh, you mean like a Shaq?
Yeah, no, people call him Shaq, and my Shaq couldn't be more different.
Now I understand.
Yeah.
It took a minute. What is the craziest nickname you've ever given someone?
I don't give I don't know. I guess I don't function in nicknames the way you do. I don't know that I've ever given anyone any nickname.
What about a dog's name? How did you come up with your dog's name?
Well, I didn't. I stole my dog from my best friend and her children. What do you think of that? No, I did have their permission, but several years ago, about 6 years ago, I visited my very best friend. Grew up together. Moms were best friends. This isn't very rapid fire, but she grew up in Texas. She had moved to Virginia. Then she moved to New Mexico. So coming from Los Angeles, she suddenly seemed very close, even though it's still a 24-hour drive. And I visited, and her dog really took to me. Mm-hmm. This dog, she had 2 dogs, and one of them couldn't care less about me, but this one, and everyone noticed. It's my favorite story. Everyone, like, people were like, wow, she really wow. And like it parallels as if I had an affair with the husband, like touches under the table, and it's time to go to bed, and it's like, well, good night, I guess I'll go to my room. Like we just had this thing. And so it became like a joke. Like I was like, what if I just took her with me? And then it was like, what if I just took her with me? And then it was like, bye. I mean, we had a talk. We got permission from the children.
Course.
It's very fun to just say I stole her. So the baby, their other dog had been named Winston. They called him Winnie. Mm-hmm. Their baby, their 2-year-old, could not say could not say Winnie, called the dog Minnie. So when they got this dog, just called her Minnie so the baby could say it.
Oh.
So a baby named this dog.
Oh, baby. And what a lovely story of your dog.
It was a love connection.
Yeah, do they get jealous of your fiance?
The dog?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, no. She's crazy about him. I would never put her in a position to have to choose, because I do not know exactly who she would choose. So no, she's a big fan.
right. Well, thank you, Laura, for our additional questions. Again, check out her podcast, which is called
Tiny Victories. It's on
Tiny
all the
Victories.
platforms.
All the platforms. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you enjoyed some questions and you want us to actually do really fast fire questions with Laura a second time, just pop it in the comments and we'll bring her back. All right, toodaloo.